The content of this program represents the opinions, research, and observation of the host and his assessment of scientific evidence available at this time. None of the statements, claims, techniques, dietary guidelines, or supplements mentioned in this program have been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. The information contained herein is for educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for standard care provided by medical practitioners. Any application of the advice presented here is at the listener's own discretion or risk. The information should not be used for self-diagnosis or application. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before beginning any new nutritional, exercise, or lifestyle improvement program. The host and this station disclaim any responsibility for any adverse effects arising from the use or application of information contained in this program. Now broadcasting from his Nutritional Command Center deep in the heart of Victoria, Texas, charging through the swamp of misconceptions, deception, and myths, bringing to you the newest cutting-edge scientific-based nutrition information so you can enjoy whole-spectrum health. Here's the paladin of nutrition and whole foods expert, Labron Allen.
In the front lines of the battle for your health freedoms and against medical tyranny, I'm your host, Labron Allen, and this is Health Alert. Good Saturday morning to you. This morning, we're going to be discussing at length something that is popular around the first of the year, other than losing weight and your New Year's resolutions of no longer smoking or whatever the case may be. We're actually going to be discussing in depth all of the components that are necessary to a truly effective detoxification or purification program. When it comes around to the first of the year, there are many health-conscious people who like to do different kinds of detoxifications or purifications, maybe to help them lose the pounds that they did add on due to the bad choices that they made during the holiday weeks and months. But first, here's the current health news. Headline: 5-hour energy drinks linked to death, convulsions, and spontaneous abortions, also known as miscarriages. Officials with the Food and Drug Administration say that they've received reports of 13 deaths over the last 4 years where there was at least a causal link to the brand 5-hour energy, an energy shot that contains a potent amount of fractionated caffeine. Remember, there are many differences, in fact, some differences to the point of actually being fatal in things that are synthetically manufactured with fractionated substances as opposed to those very same substances that appear naturally within real whole food, such as caffeine. The New York Times said that the disclosure of the reports is the second time in weeks that filings by the agency cited deaths linked to energy drinks. In October of this year, the FDA said that it had received 5 reports involving fatalities that were linked to another popular energy drink, which I'm sure you've heard of, Monster Energy. The drinks have a growing history at the FDA since 2009. 5-hour energy has been included in about 90 filings with the agency. More than 30 involve serious or life-threatening problems such as heart attack, convulsions, and at least one spontaneous abortion, otherwise known as miscarriages. So, that just goes to show that these types of drinks are not healthy. They are not only full of caffeine, but they are full of sugars, oftentimes high fructose corn syrups, which create extreme elevations in your blood glucose levels, and especially within the brain. And when you have that drop of the blood glucose levels, guess what can happen? You can actually have convulsions, seizures, coma, just as an example. So why do people actually consume these drinks? Isn't that a good question? Well, it's obvious. It's obvious that they are looking for an increase in energy levels. Now, the real question below all of that is why are they requiring those drinks in the first place? Well, not in a small part, it's because they're making choices like this to begin with. If you looked at their entire diet, I guarantee to you that 99% of it is going to be the standard American diet of total and absolute processed garbage. And so when you are not supplying your body the fuel it needs in order to do the processes that you require in order to maintain your life and the activities in which you desire to participate in, then guess what? You're going to need some kind of drug, some kind of alternative substance to keep you going. In this case, it's merely a legal drug, also known as high amounts of sugar and caffeine, but nonetheless just as fatal as any other kind of drug. So the real way of having true energy, sustained energy, not spurts of energy that are artificially motivated by drinks or whatever other substance you may be consuming, is to have real, whole spectrum health, which a large part of that is by making choices of eating real whole foods instead of processed or GMO-ridden garbage. It's really that simple. Health and optimal health is really that simple. Next, headline. Now, this is not particularly about human health, but it is about the health of things that are very, very close to us, at least to me. I happen to be a dog lover, so everyone who is also pet lover, dog lovers, listen up. Headline: Chicken jerky treats casualties, 360 dogs, 1 cat. Again, from chicken jerky treats, there are 360 casualties of canines and 1 feline death. In mid-September, the FDA released information on its website stating that in the past 18 months, 360 dogs and 1 cat in the United States and Canada have died after eating pet treats imported from China. Reports of illness since 2007 now number over 2,200. The majority of reports have involved chicken jerky, which are treats, tenders, and strips, but there are also reports of illness from duck and sweet potato treats, as well as treats made with chicken or duck jerky that is wrapped around dried fruits, sweet potatoes, or yams. For the first time, the FDA seems to actually suggest that pet owners avoid the treats altogether with this statement. The FDA is reminding pet owners that jerky pet treats are not necessarily for pets to have a fully balanced diet, so eliminating them will not harm pets. The agency is also expanding its testing of the treats to check the presence of irradiation byproducts as a possible source of contamination. So the very best way to feed your animals is with their natural type of diet. I've talked about this briefly before on this program, but let me do it once again. Now let's consider a dog in the wild, such as a wolf. Do you realize that 99% of the DNA of every one of our domesticated canines is actually wolf? So therefore, in order to know how your dog needs to be fed and create its own optimal health, let's consider a wolf. What do wolves eat? Well, certainly they go to the local pet food store and grab the nearest bag of dog food kibble and begin chowing down on it, right? Well, of course not. What they're going to be doing is either scavenging or hunting. So they will either be eating dead carcasses, of which they find, or they will be killing their own prey and consuming that. Now, another question, do they cook it before they eat it? Well, we know that they fire up the gas grill and get out the beer and start chowing down on their fawn, right? Well, of course not. They eat it raw, and sometimes it is not very freshly raw food. So keep that in mind. Now, do we ever see wolves going out into a farmland and begin grazing on the wheat berries, or on the corn, or on the rice fields, or whatever the case may be as far as eating grains? The answer is no. But we do see them killing chickens and eating the entire bird. including bone. So keep that in mind. That is the natural diet of these animals, and that is the reason that we are seeing such a marked increase in the degenerative diseases and chronic illnesses of these animals, of the domesticated animals, cats, dogs, etc., in the last 15, 20, 25 years, because they are having the same thing happen to them as is happening to the human family. And that is eating processed garbage. And not only that, also eating things that their bodies are not designed for in the first place. So personally with me and my animals, I feed them a raw diet, mainly of meat, occasionally of some veggies, but occasionally. And again, it is raw, including raw chicken with bones. Now, this is my own personal opinion, so you need to do as you see fit. But I will say that many experts say that as far as, for example, bone in chicken, the problem with it splintering is when it is cooked. It then becomes brittle. It's pretty amazing when you can see a dog, regardless of size, just take that chicken bone and crunch it up to absolutely nothing within just a few minutes. Same thing for cats. If cats are allowed to go out and roam, what are they going to be doing? Well, quite well known, they're going to be getting mice and other kinds of rodents for sure. Maybe a baby bird if they can. And so again, that is their natural diet. So keep that in mind when you feed your animals. Next headline, Health Basics. When is organic still GMO? What a good question that is. Now, on this program, we have talked and discussed at length the issues with genetically modified organisms. We have talked about how it is better overall to try to eat as much organic as you can. But the problem is how do you know that the organic things that you're consuming are actually not also genetically modified? Well, in reality, I think the honest answer is you really don't. If the product is certified organic, it is supposedly, allegedly, supposed to be GMO-free. Whether that is true or not, who knows? But still, you're going to get less amounts of synthetic chemicals in your diet if you do consume organic foods. Now, part of the problem is for example, how when you get produce, how do you know that if it's from a small or even a mid-sized farmer that they didn't go to their local home improvement store and get the seeds that were actually genetically modified, use those in the farming, but farm it organically in organic soil, and they're not using synthetic pesticides and fertilizers? Well, they can still call it organic, however, it is GMO produce. And this actually happens a significant amount of time. Realize that organic actually means that it is grown without the use of synthetic pesticides, fertilizers, sewage sludge, ionizing radiation, and supposedly genetically modified organisms. So that is what organic is supposed to mean. Now, you may not be aware of it, but actually the USDA has 3 categories of organic. One, it is 100% organic, made with 100% organic ingredients. The second category is considered organic, which means that it's made with at least 95% organic ingredients, which means 5% can be absolute garbage. So keep that in mind. And then third category, which will state on the package, made with organic ingredients. Well, doesn't that sound healthy? But it means that it's made with a minimum of 70% organic ingredients with strict restrictions on the remaining 30%, including no GMOs, hopefully. However, I do caution you to not trust the USDA. Now, even though their stamp of organic does go a fairly long way, there is no guarantee, as I have stated already. And since we've seen that the FDA endorses, well, actually horrific disease-causing foods, I mean, why not, right? They endorse horrific disease-causing pharmaceuticals. They also endorse all kinds of different additives and chemicals the FDA does, such as the food colorings and many different kinds of neuro and excitotoxins. They also have no problem with GMOs, stating that it's basically the same as any other kind of food. Why do you even have a problem? So you have to be your own investigator, and you have to be responsible for knowing what you consume. You must be a savvy consumer of even real food. Now, right on the USDA site, you might find it interesting that they make this statement. It says, "Welcome to the USDA's Agricultural Biotechnology website. The USDA supports the safe and appropriate use of science and technology, including biotechnology," which means GMO, "to help meet agricultural challenges and consumer needs of the 21st century." Boy, doesn't that sound trendy. It goes on to say that the USDA plays a key role in assuring that products produced using biotechnology are safe. Sure. To be grown and used in the United States. Once these products enter commerce, USDA supports bringing these and other products to the worldwide market. Well, of course, why not kill everyone internationally as well as nationally? Don't forget that just from recent reports that French scientists found in a long-term study that GMO fed to rats, that nearly 100% of the time, the rats get tumors the size of baseballs and die an extremely early death. But that's obviously safe. That biotechnology is obviously safe. So USDA says so, must be the case. Now, in my practice, about 90% of the practice is actually women. For some reason, women seem to care more about their health than men, but that's not 100% the case. But anyway, my point is that of those women, there are a few that have had breast augmentations. Now, why am I bringing this subject up? Because there's actually some new articles coming about the extremely dangerous effects of breast implants in particular. Now, Susan Kolb, who's an MD, she is actually providing a significant amount of valuable information so that women who have had these sorts of breast augmentations for whatever reason can dramatically improve their health. Because again, with breast implants in particular, there are significant, I cannot stress it enough, significant health impacts. Now, Dr. Kolb is the founder of Plasticos Surgery Center and Millennium Healthcare, founded in Atlanta, Georgia. She is actually one of an extremely select group of holistic plastic and reconstructive surgery centers. She's authored a book entitled The Naked Truth About Breast Implants from Harm to Healing. And in that book, she goes into a large amount of detail about breast implant risks, associated illnesses, and what can actually be done about them. So do realize that with these women who get the breast augmentations, either for, because of cancer or whatever the case may be, that these health implications are very often just glossed over, completely glossed over, but yet they are significant. Again, I cannot stress that enough. There are about 300,000 women a year who get breast surgeries or augmentations for various reasons. Now, here's some of the issues. Silicone implants. They are prone to leakage of neurotoxic agents that are actually cancer-causing. So imagine that. Let's say that a woman has gotten some reconstructive surgery done, has a breast implant, and boom, starts having leaking of these implants, silicone-based, and now she's at risk for cancer again. So this is a serious matter. Interestingly, silicone implants actually pose a unique risk, as they happen to be very prone to leakage. Dr. Kolb shared her own personal experience with leaking silicone implants. As the first symptom involved the chest wall on the left side, none on the right. She experienced a burning pain that went up to her armpit and all the way down her arm. She started having numbness and tingling in the left arm. She says it's a good thing that she's right-handed, because otherwise she would have had real serious problems with the use of that hand. She started developing thoracic outlet syndrome, which is when you have inflammation in the armpit, the main nerve coming out of the chest of the arm. It can become inflamed and act in a way that you get weakness and numbness, which actually is a significant neurological problem. Now, she was actually diagnosed with the thoracic outlet syndrome, and by the way, that's a perfect example of how ridiculous diagnoses are, because is that really what was going on? Well, it was a symptom, but it's not what was causing it. Do you see that? Now, it's important to note that in her case, she didn't have a rupture. This was just simply a leakage of the implant, not a huge amount of the silicone. Now, after that diagnosis, she continued to have very, very interesting symptoms. For example, sinus problems, new onset allergies, new onset dizziness. She says that 82% of women with leaking silicone gel implants actually have dizziness, and that it's important to note that the silicone is a neurotoxin. A neurotoxin. She goes on to say that saline implants could very well be just as dangerous as silicone, even though they are heralded as being safer. She says that saline implants are actually made with the same shell as silicone implants. The problem is that if the valve used to fill the implant is damaged in any way, which, by the way, can occur during a mammogram or a car accident, the problem is that it can lead to serious problems with bacterial and fungal growth. Also, Raynaud's syndrome is often associated with breast implants. What Raynaud's syndrome is it's a rather rare disorder of the arteries that cause blood vessels to actually narrow. Now, usually this happens in your fingers, but it can also impact your toes, and it can make your hands turn cold, sometimes blue, and oftentimes very painful. Now, oftentimes those diagnosed with Raynaud's syndrome will be told that it's unknown as far as the cause of it. However, Raynaud's syndrome has been directly linked to methyl ethyl ketones, which, and is why I'm mentioning it, is a chemical in the shell of breast implants. So if you or anyone you know is actually experiencing any sorts of issues and they have had breast augmentation surgeries, that is something that needs to be kept in mind. So, are you ready for a purification program? Well, maybe not right now because you're just getting started in the holiday season. And so, if you're like most people, you're getting ready to introduce into your body lots and lots of poisonous garbage. Well, I hope not. I hope that those of you listening to this program understand why it is vital that you make proper and health-giving choices at all times. There are no cheat days, cheat weeks, or cheat weekends for those who actually want to achieve as much as possible whole spectrum health. So as the first of the year rolls around, many people will be looking at ways to do detoxification and purification programs. Some of the more popular ways, especially in this area, there's something called a Daniel's Fast, which is a 21-day program of doing different kinds of blended drinks and so forth. And the problem is that when you look at what is mainly used with this type of fast, it is carbohydrate laden, so that can create blood sugar issues, as is very often the case. It can be somewhat effective in detoxification. Other things that are popular are just like liver cleanses, colon cleanses, things like that. Other types of cleanses will be ion detoxification systems. Ion detoxification or ion cleanses are when you sit in a chair, you put your feet in this pan of water, and a device is set in the water which ionizes it. And the idea is that it works similar to osmosis, draws these toxins out through your skin transdermally, and you will see changes in the way that the water looks. Supposedly that the change in the way the water looks is due to the materials that's being drawn out of your body. That may or may not be true. A lot of it has to do with the mineral content and other chemicals that are in the water. So do be aware of that. Not to say that ion cleanses are not effective to some degree at removing toxicity. They are. There's actually been studies done on certain ion cleanse systems, not all. So just because one system has been shown to be effective does not mean that all systems are. Now, going specifically into detoxification purification programs. Now, I already mentioned the most commonly thought of areas of the body that need to be cleansed: colon, liver. However, that is only 2 of 7 areas of the body that require cleansing. Did you know that? So, what are the other areas, and how do you cleanse them? Isn't that really the question? Well, of course, another obvious area would actually be the urinary system or the kidneys. So you would have the kidneys added to that list, again, along with the liver and with the colon referring to the large bowel. But there's others. There's actually the largest detoxification system of the body. Yes, many of you may already know what that is. That is your skin. Your skin is a detoxification pathway. Also, your lymphatic system must be cleansed because your lymphatic system is what is responsible for moving around infectious and toxic material through and around the muscles. Okay, in fact, it will only be moved by muscular exertion. Next, we have the respiratory system. Very often, the respiratory system is not even considered in detoxification programs, but up to 70% of the body's toxicity is actually detoxed or eliminated through the respiratory system every time you exhale. So, there are certain parts or additional parts of these different systems. For example, the liver would also include the gallbladder. The lymphatic system would also include the spleen, and from there it would go back into the kidneys. Also, the lymphatic system and kidneys are associated with the skin, as well as the respiratory system is associated with the large bowel, which means that if you get cleansing in one, oftentimes you will get cleansing in another. So a truly effective purification program will actually entail several things. The most important things are what you eat and what you do not eat. Now, science has shown, research has shown, and the studies are in, that it takes a minimum of 21 days to have a completely cleansed system. So, number one, when you get ready to do a detoxification program, it must be at least 21 days in length. Now, one of the ideas of a detoxification program is to remove any type of food substances that your body is likely to be allergic to. The reason for that is is that once you do, many things will happen. Eliminatory pathways will become decongested. Inflammation will die down. You will feel like a new person. So the purification program that I work with and have had quite a bit of success with, for the first 10 days, so that is days 1 through 10, the only things that are eaten are vegetables, absolutely no grains, and absolutely no forms of animal proteins. Also, there are no beans consumed, there are no nuts and no seeds consumed during the first 10 days. There is a heavy emphasis on cruciferous vegetable consumption. Certain things are limited to a degree, such as carrots. You can have them, there's no problem with it, but more limited because they are also very high in fructose, which has potential of creating inflammation. Then, typically on day 11, we have the introduction of certain animal proteins, but only certain forms. For example, it can be chicken and or turkey and fish. So that begins typically on day 11. Now, the same things are done as were in the first 10 days. So you continue with the same vegetables, eliminating all the other things. You do not consume chocolate. You do not consume margarine. You do not consume vegetable oils. You do not consume any forms of alcohol, any forms of sugars, and any forms of grains at all during that 21 days. Now, you also do a certain form of shake. This shake is designed to give you protein. It is a vegetable-based protein. And it is also designed to augment your eliminatory pathways. One of the most significant eliminatory pathways that can be augmented is something called a cytochrome P450 enzyme pathway. Now, that's a big, long name. It's also called phase 2 detoxification, most often associated with your liver. However, there are actually cytochrome P450 enzyme pathways in other eliminatory organs, such as the kidneys and the lungs, the respiratory system. So there are shakes, typically 2 to 5 of these shakes a day. You can also put your veggies in that shake, make it a veggie smoothie, that are used to augment these pathways, and they also serve as meals. During this time of purification, you want to get a minimum of 4 meals a day. Not huge feasts, but definitely at least 4 meals a day. Also, I forgot to mention that there is no, or very limited amounts of fruit. Very limited amounts of fruit. Some people, you cannot have fruit during the cleanse. Now, additionally, there are certain supplements that are taken that, again, help with cleansing all. When I say all, I mean all 7 of these detoxification pathways. There can be fairly high doses of them. Sometimes you can take up to 21 capsules a day of certain supplements, a couple of supplements. Now, the huge advantage of working with me on a purification program during that 3 weeks is that we also use nutrition response testing to target with laser precision exactly what your body needs in order to get the most benefit of this purification program. So adjustments can be made to these things. One of the most common adjustments, for example, is that people need the introduction of the protein a little bit sooner, oftentimes around day 7 or 8. Also, the supplements are dosed specifically for that person's biochemistry and what the body needs. Also, during this 21-day period, the patient will come in to see me once a week. We do a weigh-in, we see how things are going. If they're having any issues, we address it, and then we do a nutrition response testing exam. Why? Because we want to make sure that all of these eliminatory pathways are actually doing what they should. Because very often, and the reason that you will not feel well, please listen to what I'm saying, the reason that you do not feel well during purification programs is because one or more of these eliminatory pathways are congested and not able to detoxify. Therefore, you are losing a significant amount of potential of cleansing and purification of the body. So, We wish to avoid that, and the way that we do that is by doing a nutrition response testing exam every week during this 21-day period. What we do is we either adjust the supplement you are on, or we find something, nutritional, whole food concentrate, herbal, or a homeopathic, that will augment the detoxification or cleansing of either specific toxins, specific metals, infections, allergy, whatever it may be, to get that eliminatory pathways going once again. The average weight loss for my type of 21-day purification program is minimum 12 pounds. That is very, very common, definitely average. And many inches are lost. So not just pounds, but many inches are typically lost. And that is not to mention how you feel totally improved. You sleep better, your joints ache less, you have far more energy, you have clear thinking, your skin clears up. What more can you ask for? So I encourage you to check out a 21-day purification with us at the Natural Health Clinic, or just get on a health improvement program now. When first of the year rolls around, we'll get you on a 21-day purification program. Again, what's the easiest way to learn about a health improvement program, nutrition response testing, and whole spectrum health? Of course, it's to come to one of our free health seminars. The next one is Tuesday, November the 27th at 7 p.m. at our location at the clinic on John Stockbauer. That address is 3908 John Stockbauer, Suite C as in cat, the Natural Health Clinic. The title is How to Get and Keep Our Children Healthy. What's the point of getting your children healthy if you don't keep it, right? Think about childhood. It is time of development. It is the most pivotal time for your health development. If it's done properly and correctly and with thought and care, it will ensure that you, as you grow up, or your children, can develop into who they are designed to be. The problem is that even though children are young, most children are not healthy. They are not truly healthy. They're just so young, they don't have many symptoms, or they have so much energy, the symptoms aren't showing up. Now, these children are not unhealthy because their parents don't care, they don't try, but because the parents are given inaccurate and unfortunate information that is truly stunting their children from ever fully developing into either very healthy individuals or even their personality, their mental, psychological, emotional development. So at this seminar, you will learn what these common mistakes are, and even more importantly, how to avoid them. So you are invited. There is standing room only at our free health presentations. To avoid having to stand for an hour, you need to RSVP. Do that simply by calling our office. The number is area code 361-575-4683. One more time, 361-575-4683. Just tell Tanya you wish to RSVP for the next free health seminar, once again on Tuesday, November the 27th at 7 p.m. Well, that concludes this program. Have a safe weekend, especially as you're driving home on Sunday. Watch out for everybody else that's not watching for you. Stay healthy. Until next week, this is Labor and Allen with Health Alert.